All right, guys, welcome back to our remote writing workshop. We received this topic idea actually from one of our followers who asked about the pros and cons of using a pseudonym as an author. Is it a good idea? So we wanted to tackle this week and talk about the aspects of a false name that authors often use. So Erin, tell us a little bit about the history of the pseudonym and why did authors begin using them?
Well, a pseudonym is, as you probably know, a fictitious name that an author uses instead of their real name. And it's what's listed as the author's name on a published book, and readers often don't know what the real name is or identity of the author. A pseudonym is another word for nom de plume. I'll use my 7th grade French there, which translates to name of feather, which refers to the quill pen that authors used to use in the past. And that, of course, it became pen name, so pretty literal. There are many reasons authors in the past have used pseudonyms. One is for simplicity, to have an easy to remember name. For instance, Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness fame, was born, I wrote this down, Joseph Theodor Conrad Korzeniowski. See, that's why he changed it to Joseph Conrad. Also, to escape gender discrimination and prejudices, famously the Bronte sisters all published as under male pseudonyms because novels by women at the time were not well received. It could sometimes even be dangerous for women to write and publish at the time. Even more recently, male authors have written as female authors under female pseudonyms in, for instance, the romance genre, in an attempt to appeal to female readers. Often they were used to escape racial or cultural discrimination and prejudice. Sometimes authors would have foreign sounding last names. Harold Rubin called himself Harold Robbins. And also another reason would be kind of to start with a clean slate or escape your past. So someone who has that behind them, for instance, O. Henry, he was born William Sidney Porter, and he served 3 years in prison for embezzlement, but then he wrote a lot of really good short stories. So what do? You name yourself after either your cat or your favorite prison guard. We're not quite sure which one. Another reason would be to, of course, protect your identity. Voltaire, who was originally Francois-Marie Olivier, French. Anyway, wrote as Voltaire because of his politically controversial works. And his life would have actually been in danger if his real identity was known. Oftentimes, if you want to dabble in another genre, you can use a pseudonym. Nora Roberts writes as J.D. Robb when she goes from romance to suspense. And also just to maintain privacy. Lewis Carroll was very, very private, so he kept his personal life as Charles Dodgson and only published academic papers under his real name.
Got it. Okay. So the use of a pseudonym has historically been linked to authors that sign with the big traditional publishing houses. Can you tell us why?
Well, that's true. They often became necessary, especially in the 20th century, because a lot of times traditional publishers, they used to only allow one book per year per the contract. So authors who wrote very quickly, for instance, horror writer Dean Koontz, they used pseudonyms so they could publish more often. And Dean Koontz has, I think, like dozens of pseudonyms that he's used, men, women. Stephen King wrote as Richard Bachman. He actually chose that name very quickly in his publisher's office from Bachman Turner Overdrive, which I thought was funny. But they didn't want him to oversaturate the market with Stephen King books. Authors also wrote under pseudonyms when they would start a new series. And also not long ago, the big publishing houses, they would actually buy the author's names. So when the writer left the publishing house, they would have to create a new pseudonym in order to publish.
All right, so now that we know the reasons authors choose to use the pseudonyms, are there any reasons not to, especially with today with self and hybrid publishing available?
Well, definitely, because now we're in the digital age. So this kind of changes everything. And in these times, authors aren't going to be penalized for writing too quickly, especially if you're self-publishing or using other hybrid publishing options, because it's great to publish quickly and get it out there. Also, nothing remains a secret for long nowadays with the internet. So, you know, internet sleuths, they're going to unmask an author very quickly. The internet hates privacy. Really, do you really need ultimate privacy? I mean, and give it some thought, because unless you're a whistleblower or there's a really good reason, and we'll kind of get into that in a bit, but you can grow your readership by giving interviews, doing publicity, in-person events, book signings, and writing conferences as your real self. So you really want to make sure that that's not something that you want to make sure that you're using your real name if you want to really get that group of readers and use it in that way. Don't create a pen name if you already have dedicated readership, because if readers or followers already know you by one name, you don't want to confuse them by switching it up, because you're going to lose that big group. And of course, there's also legal steps involved with using a pen name. So keep that in mind. You're going to have to go through work there. So really, bottom line, if you're not completely sure about using a pen name, don't do it. So if you're kind of considering it and it sounds kind of cool, and you need to have a solid reason. Protect your identity, because it's going to fizzle out and lose its charm if you don't have a really good reason to use it. And besides, nowadays, so many authors use their real name across so many genres that doesn't really apply anymore. Neil Gaiman has written everything from children's books to adult satire. Isaac Asimov wrote in every category under the sun. Carl Sandburg, Rita Mae Brown. I mean, they write every single different kind of book you can imagine under the same name. So it definitely works nowadays. You don't have to create a pseudonym if you're changing genres.
Yeah, absolutely. So why would an author today want to use a pseudonym? So what are the pluses to using one now?
Well, there are still reasons. So if one of these applies to you, go for it. If your name is the same as someone famous, especially an author, if you happen to be named Kim Kardashian, you probably want to get a change again. If your pseudonym is actually the name you're known by in real life, even if it's not the name on your birth certificate, if it's been a nickname, it could be something you could use. Also, if you have a forgettable or boring name, John Johnson, Karen Smith, sorry, Karen. You think your writing might get you into trouble at your day job. For example, you could be, if there's an Air Force captain that writes spicy erotica or something, you might want to use a pseudonym. Another one is family issues, for something like a memoir, or even if you're writing a thinly veiled story of your Aunt Helen's journey from Catholic nun to cocktail waitress in Vegas. You might not want everybody to know who you are, or then find out who they are. Right. But remember, once you choose a pen name, you want to stick with it. You don't want to just have multiple pen names and change your mind. So you really want to think about it, choose one. If you're going to use it, stick to it, because you want to establish that fan base and you don't want to lose them.
Yeah, platform, guys. Remember, we talked about it a few weeks back. So building a platform around your pseudonym if you choose to go that route. Mm-hmm. All right, Erin, what is our activity for this week?
Well, just for fun, come up with a pseudonym. And a great way to figure this out, go through the alphabet, baby name book, brainstorm. You can connect it to a deeper meaning for you, or connect it to your idea or theme. You can use, they have name generator sites online. But just for fun, whether you're going to use it or not, it's kind of interesting to come up with your own pseudonym.
Yeah, I'm gonna tack on to that. Come up with a pseudonym and then Google your pseudonym to make sure that there's no negative press surrounding the name that you might have come up with.
Yes, yeah. And it's the same thing when you're brainstorming titles. When you have the perfect title or pseudonym, make sure it's not already out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, Erin, thank you so much for covering that. And thank you to our wonderful follower who suggested this topic for us this week. What a great topic we covered. Yeah. So as usual, you guys make sure you are engaging with us. As you can see, we chose a topic that someone recommended to us. So if you have something that you would love for us to cover and we have enough means to talk about it, make it into a whole topic, definitely shoot us a DM, comment on our video, and we will discuss it internally and make sure that we either send you, the correct answer you're looking for, or make it into a topic of discussion for this segment.
But don't make me speak French again, please. That was awful. We don't want that.
All right, guys. So make sure you guys are checking back in with us next week for the next one. But we will see you guys next time. All right.
Bye.